Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Clifford de la Cruz, and I'm going to be your teacher for this subject, understanding the self. Like what I always say to my students, you cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot give what you do not have. In my journey of understanding myself, I can say that I've been through a lot, and this paved the way for me to share my knowledge with regards to how to understand ourselves better. Although this subject cannot be learned really in just one semester or in just one sitting, because it is a lifetime pursuit. Understanding the self is a lifetime pursuit. Hindi siya light switch na kumbaga kapag pinindot mo, ayun, naintindihan mo na agad kung ano or kung sino ka talaga. So in Unit 1, we are going to talk about the self from the various perspectives. And in Lesson 1, particularly, we're going to talk about the philosophical paradigm or perspectives. In our daily lives, we always ask questions. Average person makes 35,000 decisions every single day. In that process of making decision, we always ask questions. Ultimo kung ano yung pagkain or anong ulam or saan nilagay yung phone mo or saan nilagay yung pera mo. Those are questions. Until such time na pupunta ka na sa mga deeper questions like why are you here? What's your purpose into this world? Those are the questions that might come into your mind. As you go along, you have an unclear answers to those questions. That is why we have to study these philosophical perspectives upang sa gano'y mag-guide tayo kung ano ba talaga yung idea or concept about ourselves. Wala ka pa namang nakikitang asa na nag-reflect, diba, na sabi niya, bakit ako nandito sa mundo? Bakit ako nandito sa mundo? Bakit Brownie ang pangalan ko? Bakit ang pogi ng amo ko? Wala ka pa naman nakikita na gano'n na aso, diba, na nagre-reflect or di kaya malunggay na magre-reflect, anong luto ang maganda? Anong luto ang maganda para sa akin? They don't reflect. They don't do introspections or reflections. Only human being do those reflections or introspection. Among other creatures, we are at the top hierarchy because we are rational being. That separates us from other species or that separates us from other creatures. We are a rational being. Now, we ask questions. Actually, those significant things in this world emerged from asking questions, like in the field of astronomy. Kung wala sanang questions na nag-arise regarding planets, constellations, moon, or whatever about in the field of astronomy, hindi sana natin matututunan kung ano yung tungkol doon. Same as true with psychology. Kung hindi sila nag-focus or nagtanong tungkol sa kung ano yung behavior ng isang tao, kung paano mag-work ang ating utak, di wala sana tayong psychologist. Same as true with philosophers. Kung hindi sana sila nagtanong ng tungkol sa kung ano yung kahulugan ng buhay, wala sanang philosophy. What is then this philosophy that I am talking about? What is philosophy and why is it essential to understand the different philosophical perspectives about self? So, etong philosophers na to, sila yung mga wandering scholars na sinasabi natin. Sila yung pag-alagala lang. And then they would come to you and approach you and they would ask questions about life. Like, for example, what's the meaning of life? Why are we here? And what is virtue? What makes a man good? What is good? What is evil? Something like that. Those questions. This word philosophy came from the combination of two Greek words. We have philia and sophia, which accounts for love of wisdom. So if you want to name your daughter Sophia, the meaning of that is wisdom. So philia, sophia, philosophy or the love for wisdom. This academic discipline is concerned with the study of the most general and abstract features of the world and categories with which we think, like mind, matter, reason, proof, truth, etc. In today's world, there is a popular use of the word philosophy. Philosophy is a term applied to almost any area of life. It is considered the mother of all sciences. In common usage, it means a person's way of thinking about the world and an activity which one undertakes in seeking to understand fundamental truths about him, herself, the world in which he or she lives, and his or her relationships to the world and others. So it is very important to ask questions. It's very important to be curious about things. It's very important to ask questions about the certain beliefs. It is very important to ask these existing beliefs that you have right now. So baka naman pinaniniwalaan mo lang ang isang bagay kasi sinabi nila na dapat ito yung paniwalaan mo. So learn to ask questions. Learn to at least try to be objective with what you already know and try to question those beliefs. Totoo ba yung path na tinatahak mo? It's very important na maging curious ka, parang 3-year-old child. Lagi silang tatanong, tanong, Bakit green ang grass? Bakit ang sky is blue? So, innocence of a child. It was the philosophers, specifically the Greeks or pre-Socratics, who seriously questions myths and move away from them to understand reality and respond to perennial questions of curiosity about the world. So actually, before Socrates, mayroon tayong tinatawag na pre-Socratic era, and they focused more on the world around them. They would focus more on what is the world made up, or ano nga ba yung center ng solar system? Is it the sun or the earth? Okay, heliocentric ba or geocentric ba? Yung mga ganun. And then, but while they were all busy seeking answers about the world and what it is made of, a man named Socrates came out to question something else. Socrates was more concerned with another subject, the problem of the self. So, sabi ni Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. We are going to expound later on. Socrates was the first philosopher to ever engage in a systematic questioning about the self, hence the method of inquiry called Socratic questioning. Pinangalan sa kanya yung tinatawag natin Socratic method. They ask questions and they would come up with an answer, and after giving or providing an answer, another question would arise. Socratic method was named after him. Also known as dialectic method, is the foundation of critical thinking, a method of questioning that challenges accuracy and completeness of thinking in a way that acts to move people toward their ultimate goal. Furthermore, Socrates argued that self is dualistic, as it is composed of body and soul, where body is characterized as imperfect and impermanent, and soul as perfect and permanent. Now, isa-isahin natin yung bullet na yan. I made mention about Socratic method. He would wonder and ask questions about the meaning of life, and the different questions about deeper questions about self. The ultimate goal is to examine what life is, because an unexamined life is not worth living. Kung hindi mo daw ini-examine ang buhay mo, kung hindi ka nagtatanong tungkol sa kung ano yung meaning ng self, hindi worth ang pamamahagi mo dito sa mundo. So you're just existing and you're not living. Because some of us, we are dying inside. We're just existing but we are dying inside. So furthermore, Socrates argued that self is dualistic. Dalawa daw ang composition ng self. We have the body and soul. Our body is characterized as imperfect and impermanent. Kaya gaya nga ng lagi kong sinasabi, you have to accept your flaws, you have to accept your imperfections, because your body will never be perfect. Kahit anong pagpapaganda, kahit anong retoke ang gawin mo, your body will always be imperfect. Instead of focusing on the body, which is impermanent and impermanent kasi we are all gonna die, and if you're going to see that one, kung yan nasa taas, it's a skull, it's a reminder for me that at any moment, I can go. Any moment, I can leave the world. It is a reminder for me that I am a mortal being and I can live this world at any moment, at any time. Parang ito yung nagiging way to keep myself on the ground. Not to look down on people and not to wish to be looked upon by people. We are all gonna die soon. Memento mori. Actually, memento mori is translated as remember thou art mortal. You are mortal. Instead daw na yung body, ang pagtunan natin mansin, why not focus on what is perfect and permanent? And that is our soul. And next, we have his student, Plato. According to, ang sabi nila, Plato was a wrestler. Maganda daw yung kanyang katawan. So Plato, who was a student of Socrates, supported his teacher's idea about the dualistic nature of man. Ano na ulit yun? The body and soul. He also expounded on Socrates' idea of soul, suggesting that the soul has three components, which have to work harmoniously to be able to live a virtuous and just life. So these three components of soul, we have rational soul, spirited soul, and appetitive soul. So ang rational soul is responsible for our intellect, our mind process, or our thought processes, which governs human thought. And then we also have appetitive soul, which controls human basic drives and desires, such as your sexual desires, your hunger, your thirst. And then we also have this spirited soul, which is responsible for your emotions. You have to control your emotions. That's one of the most important things that you could learn in life, to control your emotions. Three components of soul. We have rational, spirited, and appetitive. Now we also have St. Augustine and his contention of the self. Following the view of Plato but adding Christianity to it was his contention. He argued that a man is bifurcated nature, wherein there is a part of man called soul, which dwells in the world, imperfect, and yearns to be with the divine, and another part called the body, which is incapable of reaching immortality. So the only thing that is mortal is the soul. Ang immortal daw is the body. Along with this idea is this notion that self is in search of happiness. Tayo kasi mga tao, we are eudaimonic in nature. When we say eudaimonic or eudaimonia, it is the pursuit to happiness. Di ba yun naman yung gusto natin? Ano ba yung nakakapag-satisfy sa atin? Hindi ba yung happiness? That's the pursuit to happiness, eudaimonia. Human flourishing. Yun naman yung end goal ng lahat ng tao, di ba? Sino ba naman sa mundo ang gustong maging malungkot? Wala naman siguro yung taong babangon sa umaga and then, okay, this is the day that I'm going to destroy myself. This is the day that I'm going to break myself. Wala naman siguro yung gano'n, di ba? Ang sinasabi palagi natin, gusto kong maging masaya. Paano nga ba yung pagiging masaya? Ano ba yung saya? Ano ba yung ligaya na yun na gusto natin attain? This notion that self is in search of happiness because after all, we humans are eudaimonic characters. Our satisfaction in life is derived from happiness. And happiness comes from the two fundamental rules of man that are always intertwined, love and justice. Sabi nga nila, hindi sapat na mahal mo lang. Dapat mahal mo at tama. Every man, whatsoever his condition, desires to be happy. Another saint which goes by the name Saint Thomas Aquinas, or Aquinas, agreed that indeed man is composed of two parts which he named as matter and form. Matter or hyle or halo in Greek is the common stuff that makes up everything in the universe. You matter. A man's body is a part of this matter. On the other hand, form or morphe in Greek refers to the essence of substance or thing. It is what makes it what it is. The body of a person is similar to animals or objects, but what makes a person human is his essence. Next is Rene Descartes or Rene Descartes. Actually, sa kanya galing yung Cartesian plane. Actually, this is not math, so it's not focused on it. Known as the father of modern philosophy, also conceive of the human person as having a body and mind. Inulit-ulit lang nila, dualistic in nature. We have body and mind dualism. Claim that there is so much that we should doubt, and if something is so clear and lucid as not to be doubted, then that's the only time that one should believe. Kapag hindi mo daw pinagdudahan ng isang bagay, then dun ka dapat maniwala. Thus, he is famous for quoting the line, I think, therefore I am. Or in other words, I doubt, therefore I exist. Pag nag-doubt ka raw or nagduda ka daw, you exist into this world. Parang ang question niya is, how can you be so sure that these things or this what happens around us are not just illusion or not just dreams? So yun yung contention niya. So nagkaroon din siya ng idea na, okay, nag-doubt ako tungkol dito, therefore I exist. For him then, self is a combination of two distinct entities. We have cogito and extensa, whereas cogito is the part of the self that thinks, also known as the mind, and extensa is the extension of the mind, which is the body. For him, while a human person is the body, what makes a man is his mind. So kapag nag-isip ka daw, you exist. I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum. David Hume. So he's a Scottish philosopher. He disagreed with all the other aforementioned philosophers and contended that one can only know what comes from the senses and experiences. So empiricism siya. Dapat it must come with experiences. Because he is an empiricist, he fosters the idea that man can only attain knowledge by actually experiencing. Dapat daw ma-experience mo, dapat maranasan mo ang isang bagay upang siguro matuto ka. It's like riding a bike. What you put into your mind really is what makes you. So di ba nung natuto ka mag-bike, ang nasa isip mo is kailangan mo munang matumba 3 to 5 beses. Kailangan mo munang mabangga. Yan. You have to experience those things first in order for you to attain the knowledge. To him, self is nothing else but a bundle of impressions. And self can also be categorized into two, impressions and ideas. Whereas, impressions come about through sensation or what one directly experiences. Ideas come about through imagination. In actuality, what one thinks of as a self is simply a combination of a person's overall experiences. Keyword, David Hume, experiences. Next, we also have Immanuel Kant, Kantianism. Recognizing and supporting Hume's contention was, sinuportahan niya yung idea ni David Hume. He agreed that everything starts with experiences, including perceptions and sensation of impressions. However, he believes that self is intelligent and is rational. We humans are not merely product of our experiences, but of our selected and organized experiences. It's organization. There is a mind that regulates and organizes our experiences. We have human reason that gives us the capacity to make judgment on all our experiences. He went further by saying that self is not only personality but also the seat of knowledge. So parang parehas din sila. Solving the mind-body dichotomy that has been running for a long time was a man named Gilbert, who argued that what truly matters is the behavior that a person manifests in his day-to-day life. He focuses his attention primarily on human behavior. From his perspective, the self is best understood as a pattern of behavior, the tendency or disposition for a person to behave in a certain way in a certain circumstances. And we also have Maurice Merleau-Ponty step on the scene and declared that the mind-body bifurcation is an invalid problem. So he contradicted the idea of dualism. Sabi niya, iisa lang yan. To him, body and mind are so intertwined that they cannot be separated from one another. Both give humans a sense of self. A person's body, thoughts, and emotions are all one. Hence, if you are one among those who raised his or her eyebrow while reading the aforementioned mind-body separation, Merleau-Ponty is with you. There was no duality, hindi separated ang mind and body. That's what Merleau-Ponty contended about the sense of self. Now, with all these 9 philosophical contentions, which is compatible with your own understanding of self-concept? So yun muna, sa ngayon, ang ating i-discuss.